live. Hey, folks, welcome to The Point. I'm your host, Eric Mitchell. Welcome back to this segment. We're giving election coverage as often as we can, jumping in and jumping off. We have an amazing guest for us right now. You've seen her on our show millions and millions of times. Well, not quite a million. I'm exaggerating. Millions. I feel like you've been here. So you hear her voice in the background. Let's welcome back to our show, Cooper Lawrence. Cooper, how are you doing today?
Hi, Eric. Thank you for having me on this really important day of, I don't even know what to call it. It's like, it's not really post-election day because the election day is not quite over. You know, it's like this really, really long, it's almost like, you know, when you're in high school or college and you have a birthday that lasts a week. You know, you can't just have a birthday day, like you have a birthday week.
My wife has a birthday month. I totally feel you. All of October
that's what girls do. So it feels like an elongated birthday election day.
Are you sure? Because at 2:35 last night, we were told the election was over.
Yeah, I don't think it works like that. And my favorite thing about Trump declaring himself the winner before the votes were counted, all of the conservative pundits who came out and they were like, Ixnay on the in-way, like, don't say that. That's not how this works. You're making us look bad. And I was actually kind of proud and happy that his own party were coming out and telling him to, you know, STFU, as the kids say.
Yes, that's what they do say. I thought it was funny. I never agree with Ben Shapiro. I do not like Ben Shapiro at all. I'm not a fan. I mean, he's an anti-Muslim person, and I am not a fan. I mean, for a guy who's so GOP, he sure hates a lot of his Muslims that are GOP. He came out and even said the president had overstepped his boundaries. And of course, then there's the yes men on social, you know, Limbaugh and the rest of them. I thought Limbaugh was like done. I was shocked to see him still. What casket did they roll him out of? I know he's dying and all that stuff.
No, listen, any opportunity to propagate hate, he's in.
Oh, he's like, hell yeah, I'm there. Where's Matt Gaetz and freaking Sebastian Gorka? We're here to tell you.
Can I say something negative? Here I come.
I know, here I come. And that other guy, he's like the buff guy. He's like, they're all attorneys, but he's like the ultimate yes guy. I always say he's like, where's Biden? Where's Hunter? Where's Hunter Biden? I'm like, bro, this isn't a presidential election. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Yes. Always somebody. So, this election, sorry, I can't stop laughing because yesterday was so emotional. I love all the comedy from all the journos that I follow on Twitter, including you. One of my favorite is one of the hosts over at NBCLX, Tabitha. She wrote, you know, this election tonight is a lot like driving in the car and you turn the overhead light on when you were younger. Remember, you thought you were in trouble because your dad would be like, turn that light off, I'm driving. But you're really not in trouble. That's kind of how last night was, is you wanted to panic because you thought you were in trouble, but really we're not. And you're right, this election we were told months ago was going to take longer than last night. And Trump said, hey, I'm going to come out and declare a winner. Linda Dobb, one of our biggest followers for To The Point, she made that point. She's like, he just did what he said he was going to do. Linda, right. You're right. He did. But I think we've talked about this next gentleman. He ran for president, and he conceded last night. I'm talking about Kanye West. What's your thoughts on Mr. West? He conceded, but he says he's running in 2024.
Yes, of course he is. You know, at first I was like, you know, this is a joke. It's to promote whatever his latest BS. He's coming up with like a new shoe or a new fashion line. But my favorite thing that I saw yesterday that I was shocked about is that he got about 25,000 votes in Nashville, in liberal city Nashville. Like Nashville full on went Biden, except for 2,500 people who thought Kanye West was a good idea. And I can't decide whether that's like an FU to the whole system, you know, that's somebody who just doesn't want to vote for an old white guy, or if they're people that truly thought that, you know, they want a third party or they want Kanye. I mean, nobody wants Kanye. Like nobody actually is looking for Kanye. But the vote for Kanye, I mean, it's something we should probably discuss, like what that's about and why somebody would choose Kanye. You know, what you go all the way to the polls, you wait ostensibly, you know, an hour to 5 hours. You wait all that time, you get up there, and the circle that you choose is Kanye West. Do you know what I mean? So who is that person and why would they do that? That's a really provocative question that I'd like the answer to.
I don't even get it. Like, I saw that he was getting votes. I mean, you didn't see other people getting votes, which I think was majorly different than 2016 when the real news channels were actually showing results, which was funny to see so many people on the right actually say, well, CNN's doing a pretty good job. And I'm like, they always do a pretty good job. They cover the news. That's what they do. They cover elections. They have boards, and they don't have a rotating. I don't even know how Fox gets so many guests. They had like 82 different people talking at one time. Like I was like, look, there's two people running, but I did notice on the board. I'll go back to Kanye. They never showed third party. Like nobody really seemed to register. I mean, Kanye West, you saw Brock Pierce, who's from the Mighty Ducks and a big Bitcoin guy. You saw those guys, they barely registered a percentage of anything. And it really was, I think, shocked people to see the third party really, again, didn't matter. People didn't go and give their votes to Kanye to affect President Trump, which everybody thought
No, you're
that
right. I
was
mean,
his
like Joe Jorgensen got very little attention, and that's the libertarian candidate who, even those libertarian candidates somehow ran as an independent. I don't understand that. But like Gary Johnson years ago, like there were times that libertarian candidates got attention, at least a little bit of attention. But this year, I mean, everybody is so polarized that they had to either vote against Trump or they had to vote for Trump. And I had tweeted this a while back that I realized very quickly that it was nice having Barack Obama because, like, the idea of hope and inspiration. I want to vote for hope in the future. But the truth is now people are voting out of rage. And I think rage is a lot more motivating than hope is. Hope is great, but that's sort of like an inspirational quote these days. Like if you look at the things that get the most attention, it's anger and rage filled. So there's a lot of rage voting going on. I mean, just by virtue of the fact that there was like almost 100 million people who pre-voted. I mean, that should tell you something right there, how how motivating rage can be.
Yeah, it's, rage voting, it seems to be, I mean, but again, it goes that the polls were all wrong too. I mean, we've been told the polls were all one way, we were told the other. It's just funny the way that everybody ended up voting. I mean, again, we get that question, Cooper. Popular vote, Joe Biden has beat the benchmark, which was President Obama. He smoked in the popular vote. I mean, obviously we did our job here on the West Coast. You're welcome, America. We always do our job. We show up. We don't screw anything up. They don't come visit us. The Johnny Seed of COVID-19 doesn't come over here. Johnny Appleseed of COVID-19 doesn't come over here with all of his people and spread COVID-19 and ruin our beautiful Pacific Northwest and beautiful state
New York
of California.
too. I mean, we're the same. Like, everybody knew we were going for Biden. It's, nobody wants Trump here anyway.
No.
And it was so interesting. All the people that last night during the election gathered in front of Trump Plaza and Trump Tower. It was like, so are they there to? Is it like a hate thing, or do they love him? Like, is it support, or are they looking to, like, do they have paint cans? Like, what are they doing? Why are they there?
There was 250 people cheering for him in the White House at 2:25 last night when he was declaring victory. Apparently, while you and I are talking right now, the man is on saying that he's won. He's on Twitter. He won. In his mind, he's won. I mean, remember, this is the same man who stood in front of the country just last night. Number one, my favorite thing he did, and I think pop culture-wise it's my favorite, is when you don't spell check your tweets. The word poll. P-O-L-E-S. Probably thinking of Stormy, who, like a stripper.
Exactly. Get on the pole.
I think that's what he was thinking of.
Off the poles, right?
I don't.
But the thing is, didn't Twitter block? I think Twitter had a
block.
They
did immediately after. He had to put out a new tweet
that said, like, this is not accurate information, and don't click on this BS. So
I think all of his tweets should be sent that way because it all seems to. But here's some things that we noticed, and this is kind of just fun political talk, kind of segue into other things. But did you notice last night? I always watch the significant others of those who are running. It's kind of amazing to watch, and I'm not a big Pence fan. He scares the crap out of me because he's just weird. But his wife at least cheers for him. Like, she's clapping away. Kamala Harris and her significant other support, claps. Of course, Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, she's amazing. Yeah. She claps for Joe. It is cold as ice in the Trump family, though, because Melania, she's just like,
Melania.
Melania, Molina, whatever,
No,
I don't, she
love
doesn't
to
talk.
mispronounce her name. It just shows how unimportant she is.
She
Like,
is. I
she's
don't
so
even know.
unimportant. And she's done nothing interesting for this country that, well, to not make a name for herself when she had this big opportunity, this big platform. I don't understand it. Like, she really could have done something special. And I
She
guess,
doesn't even clap for the man. I mean, she stood next to him on that stage and was like, I mean, of course, all his troll children came out. They're, Eric and Junior, who, I mean, I guess he'd run out of Coke or had a whole bunch of it. But, I mean, they all kind of came out. They stood there in the middle. They supported their dad, which I guess that's what you're supposed to do. But, there's the first lady. She did not look like she was into it. And I think the whole thing I took out of that is thank God Pence was there, because he was like that guy who takes your drunk uncle home. He came up and was like, we're going to keep counting. We understand. Like, it was like, wow, you're the actual only person in this room that's like said something rational. I felt like Billy Madison.
An actual adult, yeah.
I felt like Billy Madison, the principal in Billy Madison. What you just said made us all actually dumber right now. I deduct 300 points from you, and may God have mercy on your soul, is how I felt that should have ended. But instead it was like, I turned off my TV at that. I was like, okay, I can't stay awake if this is where we're going. So
yeah.
Where do we go from here? I mean, we have recounts. He's demanded a recount.
Well, no, a recount. We have to finish the voting.
Yeah, we haven't even.
There's a bunch of states that we haven't heard from yet. We're still in the middle of an election, so you can't demand a recount.
No, it's over. You didn't get the memo? He said it's over. It's over.
Well, the thing is, I know that I had heard, I follow a lot of different people on Instagram and their stories, and I think it was, is it Jessica Yellen? Is that her name? She was saying that a lot of Trump's lawyers are standing around some of the votes still going on and saying, is that the right signature? We want to make sure that's the right signature. And let me see that ballot. Let me see that ballot.
We're hanging chat again.
Even longer, because they're literally like pinching every single ballot, and they want to make sure that the signatures match, as if, as if the signature is a little bit off, that's an incorrect vote. You know what I mean? And my question is, so are they doing that with the people who voted for Trump, or are they only doing it with the people who voted for Biden?
Of course.
Are they doing it for all of the?
It's like Mo just said. Mo was just on before you, and Mo Villa said it. I mean, here's a guy, 2 terms with VP Gore. He went through this already once with Bush back in the day, in 2000. We're repeating the process again. This is sore loser central. This is, and what gets me is these votes aren't. You're right. The votes haven't been finished. We haven't finished counting votes.
We're still in the middle of an election. We're in the middle. Nobody can declare anything because there's no answers yet. We're still waiting to hear.
It's like we take away Americans' rights all of a sudden.
We heard about Wisconsin today. That was about it. But we're still waiting for several other states.
Michigan, Pennsylvania still had. They had like 1.2 million votes. Just recently, the Fulton County in Georgia just started counting again. All the areas that still need to be counted are very heavily populated with Democrats. And, the ballots are swaying that way. The popular vote is very clear going towards Joe Biden, which is crazy that we have this electoral college system, which I just don't understand why it's still in existence. Because if more people live in California, New York, and Texas, well, then we go off the vote. It's not my fault you don't live in Podunk, whatever Podunk state you live in that barely has like 20,000 people. That's not my fault.
We need some reform there. That's for sure. There's no question.
It's just
so what do you make of, my question to you, Eric, is this. So after all this is over, regardless of who wins, we're still going to have a very divided country. I think it's going to take a few generations before we unite again, if ever. So what do you think is going to be the first step towards uniting this country? Because we are so polarized at this point.
I think it's the responsibility of those of us. I think those of us who have platforms that can speak should lead the way. I think that's where we really do it. It should be difficult. When I say that, I'm thinking at the same time, people hate on Hollywood. The same people who support this president, they also believe that everybody in Hollywood is the devil, that they don't have a voice.
I hate that characterization because, there's just as many conservatives in Hollywood as there are Democrats. Everyone that says, Hollywood's so liberal. Really? Because Denzel Washington isn't, and neither is Clint Eastwood or Robert Downey Jr. or Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, I can give you a whole Adam Sandler. I can give you a whole list.
But they don't ever list those folks, Cooper. I mean, that's the problem.
Devout Republicans.
Yeah, but that's the problem, Cooper. When we go through it, I think it comes back, and hey, I'm going to call him out. Tucker Carlson was just on that entertainment network. That's not a news network.
I
love that you call it that. It makes me happy and
I
smile.
know it's not that I call it that. They're registered.
That's
as
what
an
they're registered
entertainment
as.
network.
So
That's what I didn't register them. They did.
So Tucker goes on yesterday. Tucker says it's the media's fault that this is happening. It's 100% everybody who's in the media, whether you are Eric Mitchell doing a small live streaming and reaching streaming media that way, or Cooper Lawrence when you jump on the radio with your radio show and you say your opinion, all of us are to blame because this is all our fault, not him, who spews more BS than anybody else we know. Remember last week he had all the Hunter evidence, and it turned out...
That was lost in the mail.
Yeah,
He had it. But then that's like the dog ate my homework.
I hate it when that
had
happens.
it.
Yeah,
It was just, I don't know where I put it.
It's funny because I'll get back to your question. Where do we go from here?
Yeah.
It's hard because I think left-leaning and independent people are more willing to extend the olive branch and try to behave themselves. They're not getting caught up.
I don't think so.
I
don't think so
You don't?
anymore. I think that's the problem. I think, there was a left-leaning psychologist who posted a picture. It was I don't know if you saw this. It went viral. It was really interesting. It was two stick figures of Bob and Sally. And Bob is liberal and Sally's conservative, but they're able to be friends anyway, and that's how we should live. And she got ripped apart by her fellow liberals who were like, excuse me, racism is never going to be okay with me, and anti-Semitism is never going to be okay with me, and we cannot see eye to eye if the other side is going to have all of these ideas that are just completely anti-human. So I think it comes from both sides. I'm not going to pretend that just because I'm a Democrat that Democrats are perfect.
Mm-mm.
I think Democrats are angry, and they should be. But Republicans are angry too. We have a very angry nation, which is why I say people are rage voting.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if there's any way that we could heal or find a middle ground. I just don't. I mean, the only way I see it happening is if we have a ticket moving forward that is, I don't know, maybe like Pete Buttigieg and Nikki Haley. Do you know what I mean? Like two completely different people who run together on a platform of uniting the country.
It's going to be this, but before we continue on, I just want to break this in because I only call anything that comes from the AP, just like real outlets are doing. The AP just put this across 2 minutes ago now. They're calling Wisconsin to Joe Biden. That's huge news for anybody who's playing at home. The AP calling this, that's big because the AP has like 800 protocols that they're doing. It's good to see some networks are following that. I know the real ones are following that to a T. They're not making calls until they call it. That way everybody can blame the AP. AP's been dead on. I mean, got to give them to that.
No, I've been seeing that all morning, Wisconsin going for Biden. Yeah,
but to make it official is pretty... The writing's getting on the wall. But I mean, let's go back. I just wanted to say that. But you're right when it comes to... It will be generations. Because I have a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old living in my home. I have two older kids. They're in their 20s. I look at them and they are angry. My 16-year-olds, we watched the election together. I posted the photo on Twitter last night. We watched it.
Yeah, it was so cute.
Oh, yeah, we had a great time. Well, funny story, our producer, Jordan Gelber, she has a tradition, which I love. My daughter's probably going to keep it too. She votes in another state. She lives in your beautiful state of New York. She lives over there in Boogie Down in Brooklyn. And she went up to Connecticut to vote, which is great. I mean, in case you're playing at home and don't know the tri-state area, it's not hard to get to Connecticut from New York. It's ridiculously close. She went and voted, so she stayed with her, at home with mom and dad. And she took this almost at the same time, like ships passing in the night. We took the same photo. She was on the couch with her dad watching. I was on the couch with my daughter watching. It was kind of funny. But it brings up points that I listened to my 16-year-old. Now, she will vote in the next presidential election. She will be 20 years old. And she's sitting here and she's mesmerized by what she's watching on TV. And then this is what we're going to talk about. Changing the channel and seeing everything's different depending on network. Even traditional networks that are known for being left-leaning or right-leaning.
Right.
It was like, I posted it last night. The two networks I felt did the best job. One was Newsmax. I thought they did a great job. They're a known conservative outlet. Everybody under the sun knows that. And CNN, everybody knows they're left-leaning. Everybody else seemed to, I don't know what they were going to do. They were off on their own thing. I mean, NBC thought it was a bright idea, and they're getting crucified today over it, to interrupt the president and say, well, we're fact-checking him. I'm like, I love you, Samantha Guthrie, but you could have waited till he was done. Let him finish ranting before you're like, we don't want to continue on. And I get that. That comes from her having issues from the debate. I mean, her and Trump don't like each other. Let's just put that out there.
Right.
But what do you expect? You work in the media way more than I do. I put people in the media. We've had people on TV like crazy the last 72 hours. How do you explain media being so different from one to the other? It's like, good God, can we not all be on the same page here? I mean, how hard is it to have AP on your cell phone and go, we're going to go off of what they say?
Right. No, it's that's what it is. Remember, they're trying to get ratings. They're not really interested in telling you what's really going on. Sure. So the only way you're going to get ratings is with opinion. That's the same thing that happened at radio. You know, the radio channels that do the best are the ones where you have the people who giving their opinions, not just the people giving you the news. Yeah. You know, if you just go to like a regular, like in New York, we have 1010 Wins, which is a great channel. It's the news. It's literally like, here's the traffic, here's the weather. This person said that person shot that person, and that's it. And you just get fact. But then you go over to another channel where somebody is really riling you up and getting you upset, and the calls are coming in, and you're either agreeing or disagreeing, and that's where the ratings are. Television is mirroring that. I mean, that's where the ratings come in, and that's how they make their money. They have to have high ratings because they have to sell advertising. So are they really interested in telling us just facts? No, they're interested in their own pockets. Yeah. And I think people need to understand that they're not there to help you. They're there to help themselves. Yeah. There isn't a channel out there that's out there just to be, let me just tell you the news. And I don't care about money. We don't care about paying these people. It just doesn't exist. So I think that's why people continue to talk about ratings. The ratings are doing so well. The ratings are doing poorly. This rated well. This rated terribly. Because that's what it's about. It's about how they make their money. It's not about making sure you get the facts. It's about making sure you get something entertaining.
And I agree with you on that. I think that's probably the most concerning thing is just, I think people need to understand the media better. I mean, for 4 years, we've been beat over the top of the head. Fake news. If you don't agree with it, it's fake. It's wrong. Oh, Cooper said it. It can't be right. She's biased. She's a Democrat. She can't talk the truth. I mean, I'm sure you've heard it. I'm sure that you have people who are not fans. I mean, I know I have my own personal hatred club that will tell me all the time how awful I am. Apparently, I have a lot of things, and I'm a traitor to my country, which I love.
But if you're so awful, what are they doing listening to you?
Exactly. Why do you tune in? I wish they'd stop calling me a communist.
Attention to somebody that they don't like.
I'm like, why are you watching my YouTube shows? If you hate me on YouTube so much, why do you tune in? I'm like, are you sure maybe there's some other thing there. I didn't wear a hoodie today.
That little X on the top right of your screen? Just go ahead and click that if you don't like him.
You don't have to watch. I mean, trust me, there's shows I don't watch. Yeah. Cooper, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I do want to thank you for coming on short notice to kind of give this. I'll keep you. I know that you're pretty available for me to come on our show, and we appreciate the fact that you're willing to do that. I have a feeling we're going to be talking a lot, which is not bad for me, but I hate talking about what we always have to talk about, this election. I'd rather be talking about fun things like the Oscars coming up.
Let's just focus on Kanye 2024.
What about all the others? Brock Pierce wants to run again. He was a mighty duck. I mean, come on. I mean, I love Brock Pierce.
Yeah, but he doesn't have Yeezys. So.
No. I mean, good for Kanye. He went on Rogan. Before you go, I don't know if you've had a chance, but Rogan let's talk about this. As you know, Rogan went to Spotify. Almost $200 million deal. Spotify founder came out and said Rogan has caused ratings to go through the roof. We're talking about ratings again. It's been great, but there's been a lot of controversy around Joe. He's had some questionable guests on that people didn't like. That's
where the ratings come from.
Exactly.
Who's he supposed to have? His mother? You know what I mean? Like, that's the whole idea. You have the most controversial guests. It's awesome.
He did. He had the crazy Alex Jones on his show. Is probably the most recent. And he came out and defended himself on this. And I thought it was funny that he had to come out. He's like, look, I fact-checked everything he said. And he goes, some of his stuff he was accurate about, and the other stuff I called him out on, which Joe's known for. Now, we're talking about ratings. Now, Joe is the hottest thing since sliced bread. I think everybody wants Joe. I know as somebody who places people in the media on a daily basis, the amount of people who start off a discovery call with my team, I can tell you, I could go through the notes, and I want to say the number's like over 90%.
Right.
Where would you, if you could pick any show you could go on, this is the question we truly ask, what would it be? And some of the answers are good. Some people know what they want. You know, people like Lewis Howes. I really like Lewis Howes. I'm like, yeah, Lewis is a good guy. Or they want to go on radio. They want to go on sports talk. Or they want to go on one of the networks, which is great. Go on Cheddar, which is a favorite of ours. Or Newsmax, which isn't a favorite of ours. Or News Nation, which I really love. Or my peeps over at NBCLX. Tabitha and Jobette, they're the best. I love them over there. Their mornings they're entertaining. And they're feeding that millennial crowd, which is great. But everybody says Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
And I'm like, Joe's different. So where does Spotify? There's this thing that Spotify wants to censor him. Do you think we'll see that? I mean,
no way. Because you know what? If they censor him, then that's going to be a blow to how much money they make off of him and their own rating. So I think, again, that sounds like just blather, just to be like, we're going to censor him. We'll do something about it. We're not going to censor him. Of course they're not going to. I mean, but just saying that they are, saying that they're going to. But what's there to do? I mean, I'm a First Amendment gal. I mean, I think free speech is really important. I think I think what Joe Rogan is doing is friggin' brilliant. He took a show that was pretty interesting and he made it really friggin' interesting, by having controversial guests and asking good questions and getting them. The thing about him that he has over most other podcasters, he himself was famous for a long time. He was on my favorite show, News Radio, so I'll always love him for that. But people are comfortable talking to him. It's like Howard Stern. The reason Howard Stern is one of the best interviewers out there, but he's also his own celebrity. So celebrities will sit there with him and they're having a conversation with a cohort. It's different than when you go on just a show with like some host or even like the Today Show. I feel like they don't get the best interviews out of people because they come across like talking heads rather than fellow celebrities you and I are sitting and talking together. And I think that's one of the brilliant things that Joe Rogan does, that he gets important people that he's more famous than, frankly, to talk to him and open up to him. And I think that's rarefied air that you to get in that place in your broadcasting experience is amazing. And I respect the heck out of it.
And he's so down to earth.
Spotify will not do a thing about it unless they're really dumb and don't want money and ratings anymore.
What people don't understand about Joe, and you're right, his TV show, I think that's where I kind of fell in love with Joe and his humor and didn't recognize him as a comedian until then. It's kind of like Patrice O'Neill. I always geek out and tell my children about him. He was in The Office, and people are like, unfortunately, we lost Patrice, but he was a staple on O&A for the longest time.
I've seen him do stand-up many times.
Oh, he's
Patrice
hilarious.
O'Neill was hilarious.
Oh my God, he was so good. But my kids, I tell them, Patrice was a famous, such a great comedian. We lost him, due to diabetes, unfortunately. Loved Patrice, but you see Rogan, and I try to tell people, I'm like, you hit an interesting point. He puts people on who aren't famous. Client of ours, the Carnivore Doc, went on his show, and here we are pitching, and Joe just messages him on Insta. Like Instagram, just normal, like, hey, you got time now? I got time. You're in Austin. Hey, you want to come in and record? We got time now. We'll tell your publicist, don't worry. True story. That's how that happened. He was like, we know he's pitching us and we know we're giving him dates, but I'm available. You want to come in? And he has him on. And I was talking to Paul and I was like, how was it? He's new. He's, in Austin now. He's like, he's so chill. He's just like, treats you like a god. He gives out his cell phone number to Paul and we sent him a text, a friendly text. It was like, hey, thank you for having him on. And we were asking because it was his episode appeared and then Jamie, one of his producers, tested positive for COVID. So they had to shut down everything for a couple days, the studio. And so his episode hit Spotify and YouTube, millions of views, millions of listens, like that. It's amazing how quickly it happens. Yeah. But it didn't show up on like Apple and all that stuff for like 3 days. So we sent this message and I was like, look, Spotify's not responding. His team's sick. I'm not going to get a quick response. He's like, well, let me just, send like a group text. So he sends this thanks. And I kiddingly said, I thought I was the Marine and I don't know how to count. You're missing an episode. And Joe came back and goes, oh, let me go check. And he's all of a sudden he's just having this private discussion where he's talking about like the people on Twitter who were trolling. And he's like, these people are out of their minds. It's hilarious. That's how down to earth he is. And you're not going to see that with a lot of people.
His name is on the show. I'm telling you, as somebody who has had my own show and my own syndicated show for a long time, I mean, not at Joe Rogan's level,
Yeah.
but I was on 180 stations. So anything that happened, when your name is on a show, you're part of every discussion because the buck stops with you. People don't. You can't say, well, I have a producer who didn't do their job or a salesperson was supposed to. No, your name is on the show. You have to take responsibility, and I love the fact that he knows that and he's doing that. He's not a diva.
Nope. He's
I
the best.
I respect the heck out of him. I think he's somebody to aspire to be like.
I love that we turned this into a Joe Rogan session, but hey, that's what we have to do.
know.
But I mean, he's so good. He's in the news. He hasn't made a statement about what's going on, which I can't wait to actually hear his thoughts. I love his deep thoughts. And he's a guy who works without notes, which I think is amazing, to do a 3.5-hour interview with folks. Some of the most intense. I mean, come on, he got Elon Musk to get high, which was a fabulous thing to watch.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. No, I mean, I did the same thing when I remember, like, we used to do our show. We had a 3-hour show every single night, and we would have actors and comedians and people come in, and they would come into the studio, and they would go, like, they had their bit or their segment, and we'd have them in there for 10, 20 minutes, and then they would say, "So you do this every night for 3 hours?" Yeah. Well, how do you have enough stuff to talk about? It's like, are you kidding me? Like, at the end of the night, there's most of the stuff we leave on the floor. Like, we don't even get to half the things we want to talk about.
No.
So
I haven't even got through half my notes for you.
Yeah, for people that are not in broadcasting, it's hard to imagine that there's that much to say, but there's a lot to say. And that's another reason why I respect Joe Rogan, because he's not, some celebrity who ended up on a podcast. He's the real deal. And I just think, I just love him. So
awesome. So I want to thank you for joining us. You're not going to get a negative
thing out of me when it comes
never.
to him.
We're not trashing you, Joe. We love you. You get mad love from both of us here. I think that's common. If you don't like Joe Rogan, there's just something there's something wrong with you, especially if you work in media. The guy is amazing, especially what he's built from nothing, and the fact that to get on his show, it's a secret Gmail account. I love that. I mean, talk about a guy who's so simple. It's like, it's a Gmail account that he started when he started his podcast that he didn't think was going to grow to be the #1 media, period, hard stop. Nobody gets more views than that man. Even last night for election, he still gets more views than they do, which is, has to, like, that just chap somebody's, in the network going, I mean, he doesn't have to try. I mean, basically, he's just like, hey, this piece of paper's my guest. We're going to make this piece of paper famous. I mean, it's that easy. Anyways, Cooper, I want to thank you for joining us. Lots of stuff. Just so you know, before you go, the AP just reported that Trump, immediately after the AP declared Wisconsin a Biden state, they formally asked for a recount, and the AP's already giving out statistics on it. Every recount they've ever had in Wisconsin doesn't bring back any big changes.
Sure, go get your recount. It's not going to make a difference. Go have it. Enjoy yourself.
Not going to see anything different.
Go waste your time and your lawyer's money.
Just going to drag this out. Apparently, he's got a whole bunch. I mean, that's what the guy does. I mean, we're just going to waste time. I unfortunately agree with Movila. This is going to take till after Thanksgiving. We're going to be this nation just treading water, but hey, at least the president finally got a wall.
And Thanksgiving's going to be fun at a lot of houses across this country.
Oh yeah, everybody's loving it. I'm like,
everybody.
I don't know if I'm going to enjoy Thanksgiving, but hey, Cooper, I want to thank you for joining us. We got to run, got to take a break here before we have our next. We're just doing all these live shows today. Everybody, Cooper Lawrence, I'm sure Coop, you'll be back real soon. So I want to thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming on.